Today we're going to be dealing with something that I know all of us want to tackle. It's all about time and how to be efficient with it. What are the tricks of the trade? And now we're going to talk to Sarah. And Sarah is an expert. So thank goodness on this wonderful business pharmacy that we get to have experts in their field, whether it's future thinking, or finance. We get to ask the questions here. So I'd love you to be honest and open, get your questions going. And we're going to invite Sarah on now. Lovely to meet you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Where are you based then?
I am just south of Glasgow in Scotland.
Oh, how wonderful. And what's the weather like there?
Today it's sunny,
Oh,
which is
that's
lovely.
very nice. We are absolutely bitterly cold here down in the south, but it's great to meet you. Now, tell me a bit about yourself and how did you manage to find yourself being a time coach?
Yeah, so what I actually love is that this is your business pharmacy because I'm actually a pharmacist by training.
Oh,
So my
you're our
background,
first pharmacist in our pharmacy. How exciting.
so I'm a time management coach and a mindfulness practitioner. I help small businesses get more time for the things that really matter. And my ethos, it's less about the busyness and the, go, 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 and thinking more about peaceful productivity, intentional living, and sort of keeping things simple. So I haven't always been a coach. As I said, I'm a pharmacist by training. I've even got a PhD in pharmaceutical science. And I'm known professionally for my organizational skills and my time management. I worked for 14 years in corporate project management roles in the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. So you had a complete change.
yes,
So
yeah.
tell me, I would love to know why time? What was it
Mm.
that fascinated you about it?
So I lost my mum to cancer when I was a teenager. I was 19. And as a result of that, I'm acutely aware that our time is limited. So my mum died when she was 51. And what's funny, well, not maybe not funny, but her mum, so we just lost my gran, so my mum's mum, and she was 99. So life can be short and it can be long, but we don't know what it is that we're going to get. And I'm so passionate about making the best use of my time and helping other people do the same. Um, and I do think it is possible to create more time in your week. So I have carved out some time for me, and I now like to give back in my local community. So every Wednesday morning, I go to my local hospice where I do mindfulness meditations for the outpatient visitors there. So I was there just now before hopping home to join you. So yeah, I think and you touched on some of it as well. Having that vision, and the goals and things to get you there. Like I think it's possible to take ownership of our time.
I think so, and I think it's really easy. I read a great book. Well, two things. This community knows I talk a lot about 29,000 days, and I have done for a very long time now, about 6 years, because on my 40th birthday, I worked out on average, if God willing, we have 29,000 days. And on my 40th birthday, I worked out I had 14,000 days left. And actually, I just seriously need to update that because I'm going to be turning 46 this month. But the point is that I live in gratitude every single day. I understand. I read a book called 4,000 Weeks, which is about the same sort of thing. And he said, isn't it funny how we just live our life expecting tomorrow? That's what we take it as a given that tomorrow is coming. And in a way, what I'm trying to do is put this sort of feeling into business, because if you do what you love and you love what you do every day, you're blessed every day. You're living your life to the most. If you were taken tomorrow, you were doing what you loved. And I feel that that's something that this community really resonates with. And I'm so sorry you lost your mum so early, but potentially it's given you this ability to help all of us understand that. And when we find ourselves procrastinating, I call it founder-titis, we're being blocked, our imposter syndrome, all of these things that stop us getting to that point. And never enough time, you know. It's so interesting the way you speak, because actually we do have the time potentially, you know, we do. It's just how, with the spare time that we do have, what do we do with it, you know? And so I understand people are very busy. You know, we've got a crisis going on with cost of living. People are working so hard. So sometimes our time is really limited with that. Can you tell us about this idea of time mapping and how this differs from time blocking? Because I'm getting your lingo here, but I don't know what actually these two things are.
So time blocking is, as the name suggests, you're blocking out time in your calendar for a preliminary plan. But to me, time mapping is taking it that one step further. It's a bit more detailed, and it's creating the plan for that block. So as an example, I have got a recurring appointment in my calendar, and I block out every Tuesday evening, and that is time for me. So that's the block. But then when I start to think about, well, what am I going to do with that block? That's then the mapping.
Right.
Like
So
last
give
night.
me an example.
So last night I had my block of time. It was my Tuesday evening to myself. But then when I was mapping it, I mapped out and I'd pre-booked in, and I went and had a Reiki session. So that was then taking it to that next step where I actually then had a plan for that block of time.
Do you think that that's a and I know you're going to talk about, you know, using electronic devices and how you can block it and the ways of doing it. Do you think that do you think that's a normal mistake where we can start to go, okay, I need to prioritize, I need to block things in, but then you get to that time and you don't have the plan, so you're actually not doing something for yourself because you end up just doing the dishes because you're at home? Is that what you're trying to avoid? It's almost like, yes, because if you don't pre-think about these things, the Reiki session is not going to be pre-booked.
Exactly. And that it's exactly that. It's sort of changing the mindset and thinking about planning our time in advance. And I think also when it comes to time, for me at least, you know, a bubble bath can get pushed out by something that comes up,
Yeah.
my business or family. You know, a long walk with the dog out in the forest or in the park can very easily get pushed. Whereas I find that with a fixed appointment, when I'm making a commitment to myself, where I'm paying for something and I'm committing to, you know, another small business owner locally to me, I make that commitment and I make it happen.
Oh, totally. Let me read out some comments. I would just say, with my quest on looking after my mental health this year, and I had the last 2 years trying to work through my body and things, you know, both those things are committing to other small businesses, and it's that commitment that makes me do them. Otherwise, for sure, I would be cancelling. You know, I won't be sitting doing my breath work by myself. I need her to come along and help me do that. Now, I know I'm fortunate to be able to book those things, but it is that commitment, isn't it, that helps you drive through to your goals. Because if I didn't have these people, it would just be the same old, you know. I wouldn't have made the change. I've got lovely comments coming in. Creatorship.co.uk, this woman, wow. Hello, time planner. We need to take our time back. Design in your pocket, Jules. Oh, I like the idea of time mapping rather than just blocking, which I always end up ignoring. And that's a classic, I think. Popsy Clunk, I love this concept. I think with a creative business, it's mapping time for creativity too. My time is solo cinema trips, which it helps me reset. Pink Lime Mango, hi Holly and Sarah. So sorry to hear about your mum. Sarah, it's wonderful you are helping others. Thank you. Casa Misoa. Mimosa, thank you so much for this. I'm a portrait artist, really trying to find my way with my business. So this is such valuable content. Magical Male UK, feel like this has come at exactly the right time. And Wiggle Pig's colourful clothing. I need this today. My work time is when the kids are at school. The temptation to enjoy the piece rather than work is very real. And they're going to keep on coming in. But I would love to just know, on the practical side, how do you do that work? Do you use an electronic calendar? Do you do color? What's the way that you, if we look at blocking, so some people aren't even blocking yet. So just take us through, if I don't block and I don't map, what could I do now?
Yeah, so I use an electronic calendar for my schedule, and I do color code the blocks, which allows me to see at a quick glance, you know, if I have enough time across the week to move the needle on my professional goals, also enough work in there that's going to pay the bills, enough time with my children, you know, and enough time for me as well. So it's all sort of color coded, and I do like to look holistically at a week, a full calendar week when I do that. I don't take it to the extreme where all of my time is blocked. I do think there is something about having white space. I think particularly for creatives as well, you know, having that space for creativity, and if the moment strikes you, then you can sort of use some of that white space. And I think it allows for flexibility. So if an opportunity were to arise, for instance, jumping on an Instagram live with yourself, Holly, you know, I'm able to rejig things to make the most of that opportunity. Equally, was to crop up, you know, I'd likely be able to deal with that as well, because there is that little bit of flexibility rather than it being like back to back blocks.
I agree. And I do the same as you. So for anyone watching this now, you've got two ladies who do the same thing here. So which is that I have, so if I'm doing public stuff and I'm you know, it's dark green for me. So when I look at my week, if I've got, you know, a couple of dark greens in every day, I know it's too much. I know by the end of the week, I will be completely drained and exhausted. And my team can almost look at it like that as well. I know that my yellow time is my work time with my team. My pink time is my personal time. So it really does give you this, doesn't it, this holistic overview where you can feel calm or excited or hang on a minute, it's going to be too much here. So what, just to get down to the nitty gritty, I'm in Google. I do everything in Google. So that's my Google calendar. It's great because it's on my phone, on my iPad, on my computer. What do you use? Do you use the same?
I use Google as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't use Google, it's super simple to set up, and it's got all the tools, and it's really intuitive and really useful. What other time management approaches are there? So if this doesn't work for someone, are there other ways that you can time manage?
Yeah, so there are, I mean, there's loads of different approaches to sort of managing your schedule. So there's the time blocking and time mapping. There's also time boxing, which is perhaps like a bit more stricter in concept, where, you know, you block out time for a specific task, you limit yourself to that period of time, and it's sort of to negate Parkinson's law, where a task will fill up the time that you give it. You know, so if I say to myself,
Oh, wow.
right, you know, Sarah, you've got Friday morning to write your newsletter. It will take up all of Friday morning. Whereas if I give myself an hour, it will likely get done in the hour. There's also, so that's time boxing, and then there's time batching as well, which I also love. So the concept there is you're tackling similar tasks at the same time to avoid this sort of context switching. So an example might be, you know, for my small business, I will batch my social media content. So if I'm in Canva creating some posts for my Instagram, I'll do multiple posts all at the one time. There is a productivity rule called the 2-minute rule. And the premise with that is that if something's going to take you a couple of minutes, you should just go ahead and do it. But my approach has now shifted on that one, thanks to Laura Vanderkam, who is an American author in the time
Tell me who, so say that again. Who?
Laura Vanderkam.
Oh, yes.
So she's an American author in sort of time management, this space. What she suggests, which I think works really well because I've been trialing it, is to actually batch these small tasks. So again, it comes back to the concept of time batching. So rather than stopping what you're doing to attend to an email or an alert that's popped up on your phone, you know, I don't think we should go ahead and respond to that straight away unless it's something urgent. In which case, what I now do is I'll take that kind of non-urgent couple of minute task, put it into my to-do list so I don't forget it. Your brain is not a great place to store lists. And I have a block of time where I deal with these small little things, you know, phone calls, sending a couple of emails, you know, paying the online bills or whatever. Because what happens is we tend to underestimate these things. Like, yes, you think that a little email response might take 2 minutes, when in actual fact it takes 10 or 15 minutes, and you know, you're not quite sure if the language you've written is going to land well, and so you're editing and you're rereading it over, and before you know it, you've lost 15-20 minutes, maybe even longer. You know, or you jump into your phone to respond to a message, and then you end up in a scroll hole, and like an hour, 2 hours could be.
I just think you're so right, because it's so funny you should say this. So I'm quite obsessed with efficiency. It's why I'm nodding at everything you're saying, because you know I'm always on the quest, you know, the quest to break it. Now Google Calendars has been with me. That is and the blocking now, definitely maybe 2 years I've done the color blocking, so I really feel that works. But I was getting into that 2-minute rule. You know, something would come up, I needed to pay a bill. And what I was finding is my to-do list was becoming overwhelming with these little things. So I would just do it. But you're so right that then suddenly what was happening was I would miss my blocked time because I was just quickly doing something, and I would have to go back and it was broken. So now I do the lists. I do literally go and I have to write it down, pay the bill, respond to the email, call this person, do this. And actually it feels good to have them all in one place. The micro tasks, you know, that are really about bashing it out so that you can move forward, you can feel like it's all done. But as you said, you have to note it. It's almost like I actually have a separate notebook where those go in, and it is ticulation. That's definitely a ticulation situation, isn't it? That's a good hashtag. Hashtag ticulation situation going on there. Let me just read out some more comments because they're coming in thick and fast. Stephanie Affleck, I love these chats. As someone who's trying to secure pre-seed investment and feels like I have no idea what I'm doing, I find it really helpful. Listen, no one knows what they're doing unless you've gone to business school, Harvard, pre-seed funding. You know, it's all about the passion and getting out there. And, you know, remember, you're the founder, you're the Duracell battery. Disco Lab, I find it so hard to manage my business, home, child and self-time. The house is always a tip and I'm usually stressed and not achieving. Rosanna Prince, hello. I literally couldn't have planned this better. So grateful to hear your talk on the subject today. The Hive, yes, color coding is the only way for me. Colony kids wear, I always think everything thinks 2 minutes, but it doesn't. Noughts and crosses, India, time blocking is what definitely I need, beside all the other strategies. Thank you. Slinger me bobs, scroll hole, love that expression. I'm so guilty of this. Yeah, it's an insta vortex, we call it at Holly & Co as well, where it's just, that's it. You know, you've lost half an hour. Holly Cottage Studio, I like the idea of time boxing. I need this for my menopausal brain, or coldy or fluey brains. They're the same brains. So I wanted to ask you, how, if you were looking at sort of a point where you think you're sold and you think you're going to do this. Can you just tell me what happens when it all slightly goes wrong? You know, that you basically think it's not as straightforward as I thought it was going to be, and sort of everything gets out of kilter. Is there a way of just sort of looking at this?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, with all of these strategies, and there's all the different terminology, but when you break it down, they're all basically same thing. It's planning our time in advance. So the key for me is that we plan our weeks ahead of time,
Yeah.
but also schedule the time to plan. I
Yes.
think that's the gap. We actually need to carve out the time to make sure that we are planning. And I think, yes, it can be easy for things to get out of kilter because typically we overestimate what we can do in a day. That's how we work. I think if you're really serious about this and want to get better with your time, try the time mapping, but take it that step further where you then actually track to see, did you stick to it? So time tracking, take it that step further, simple Excel spreadsheet or a notebook, write down every half hour what it is you did and then compare it up with your map. And I think that will give some great insights into time estimation. So it's really, to actually be better in cultivating that skill of estimating how long these things take. Now, we've got great information at our fingertips now. So like in Google, you can, if you're driving somewhere, we can find out how long it's going to take to drive to get there. So there are information that you can get from that respect, and it's a bit of trial and error, but there will be repeat things that you do. And if you track it for a week, you'll get a better handle on that, which will allow you to sort of better prepare your future weeks. So I think that's probably a good step.
A good step. Also, if you're being pulled in all directions, you never quite get to what you need to be doing. I love this idea of tracking your time. Oh, that's why. Because I'm letting the dogs out every 4 seconds. I'm having to take them for a walk. Actually, I then needed to do the school run. I then needed to go and do this. And then someone interrupted me. And if you are actually noting that all down, that could be hours of your day. That when you only had 4 hours to work on, it's half your time. And then this starts to then, doesn't it make a real case for changing things? This is not working for me. The conversations that maybe need to happen, or the other things that you need to put in place. But I think we probably don't time track. I think maybe we map, but we don't look back at our time and say, right, how much did we? Yeah, I think that's so interesting. I'm wondering if anyone in this community does time track. I'd be very impressed if you do, but I don't. Casa Miosa, great content. I really need to keep my articulation relevant to the goal, taking everything on board. Thank you. Good and proper zero. Can't believe this popped up as I walked on the beach. I'm feeling lost in a strategy hole. Waste so much time trying to start. Oh my goodness. Don't wait for the good time. There's never a good time. Marine and Gold Creations, thank you, Holly and Sarah. This week has been all about goal setting for me. And so this is invaluable in kicking me into gear for mapping out my wishes of 2023. So you've been so helpful. Tell me, is there anything that we've missed that you think this community needs to know? And then I'd love to know how people can follow you and maybe get in contact with you.
Yeah, of course. I think what's good to know is that people who feel like they have enough time are mindful of their time. They know where their time goes. They're taking ownership of their time. But as we said, the other part is actually reflecting and figuring out what's working and what's not working, and then addressing things and making changes. I think the other things, we talked about time estimation as a good skill to cultivate. I think some of the other skills that are needed are like thinking about how we prioritize.
Yeah.
So some of the tools that I use there is thinking about my core values, so values, and my vision. And they're the two things that I will use to help me prioritize. And a great question actually for everyone before we wrap up. If before something gets onto your to-do list, if you get asked for a future project or a commitment further down the line, so we're at the start of March just now, and say I get asked to do something in May. Right now, my calendar for May looks pretty open, and I might well say yes, I can get that done.
Yeah.
I take it on, but then by the time May hits, my schedule is rammed and I've got so much. The question to ask is this important enough that I would do it tomorrow? Would I reschedule and rejig my busy day tomorrow to make time for this commitment? And ask yourself that before you agree.
That is a good one. Because if it is, yeah, I can see that, I can see that. I've just been asked to do something on an important radio show in June. Now, I would do this tomorrow. So I am putting that in June. But you're right, because when I'm in May, my June is going to be absolutely rammed, but I will be glad that that's in there. But other things, you like exactly what you're saying, because it looks like white space right now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be not white space, is it? That's so brilliant. Now tell everybody how, so we can follow you. What's your handle for everyone to remind us of?
Yeah, so I'm sarahstewart.co.uk on Instagram, and that's my website as well. So I've got lots of great free resources there. I write a blog, a weekly newsletter, and in my newsletter every week there's a time management tip or thought that gets shared. So that's a great place to start as well.
And you also offer 60-minute one-off time audits,
yes,
which is just fantastic. So anyone who needs to just get a proper rip-off plaster moment with Sarah, you should just book this in, because you probably would have a life-changing moment. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. I've taken so many tips, and I'm really, it's great to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. Bye. Well, that was just wonderful, wasn't it? Now we're going to head over to someone else who now is going to, I'm going to read out lots more of your questions here. We're going to go over to Sam, who actually has a business dealing in time. And actually, time is the one thing I would say, whether you run a business or you don't, us women definitely are a little obsessive with this. Either we haven't got enough of it or we need more of it. And this is something that Sam deals with every day. Hello, you.
Hi, Holly. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You're not very well, I hear.
No, not today. No, not feeling it today. Well, I'm feeling the antibiotics are kicking in, I think. So I'm really, really pleased with that. Good. You look glorious.
Do I? Thank you.
Yeah. You look like spring has come.
Oh, well, it has. Well, I've been on holiday, so that helps, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. So I thought you were glowing. Can you share with us how you started your business?
Yeah, of course. So hi, everyone. I'm Sam Smith. I'm from a company called Hello Time, or founder of Hello Time and the creator of the Hello Time Planner. I started my business. So I'm a creative, a hands-on creative still, and a branding specialist. And I have been for 27 years, working with multinationals and small businesses. And I decided that I needed the challenge of building my own brand after helping other brands successfully build theirs. And it was at the time of a total burnout that I had, where I was kind of running around, running two businesses. I was not managing my time or organizing my time properly. I just had a diary, just a normal diary, and I was scribbling everything in there, from my to-dos to my appointments, everything. And I just became overwhelmed, and I needed to find a better relationship with time, because you can't live in this kind of total burnout constantly. So I went in search of something where I could manage my time, somewhere I could keep everything together. And from my research that I'd done and the time I spent looking around, I couldn't find anything that had enough space. Lots of products out there were already quite overwhelming because they already had pre-prescribed boxes and prompts for you to fill in, and I didn't want that. I wanted a flexible space that I could use how I wanted to, but a bit of framework and guidance, and just somewhere I could keep everything in one place. That'd be from appointments to notes to to-do lists to reminders, everything. I needed to declutter my brain and put it down onto paper. So that's what I did. I did a small print run of planners, and to prove the concept, and it seems to have worked. I've kind of overcome, don't get me wrong, there's days when I'm overwhelmed and I struggle with focus and distractions like anyone else, but I've kind of overcome a lot of that through designing this planner. So my mission is to help lots of other women in any way that I can, sort of help with that overwhelm and the juggle. And I loved what Sarah was saying. A lot of that resonated. It's so good. I do batch small tasks for sure. I used to put a phone call. I used to think, oh, Tuesday's free, I'll put a phone call in the middle of the day. That's okay. But the distraction, do you know, it takes almost 23 minutes to get back into flow state of doing something. 23 minutes from switching. It's incredible. So now I definitely batch calls together, or I'll have a day of, like today I've got lots of calls and things going on, and that's fine. And I'll spend tomorrow doing focus work. It's just so much better. You waste so much time. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent.
I totally agree. So today we've been talking about goal setting and actually managing this time and actually mapping and blocking it and things. And a lot of people, as much as we use electronic areas in our life because it's what we do, a lot of us also have that notepad, that place that we put everything. We want to write lists. We want to do that. And if you're like me, anyone, I can have 2 or 3 notepads at a go because for whatever reason. And when I find my place, it is a miracle. It feels so good. It feels like articulation times 5,000. Tell us about what you've created. Can you show us what you've created?
Yeah, of course.
Help people.
So you're talking about 2 things today: goal setting and time mapping or time blocking. So my products, you can do both of that. So really quickly, this is a sample, but this is my Hello Time Planner. It's monochrome because it means you can color code it, you can add color. It's also monochrome because you need that white space to calm your mind. And if I put loads of flowers and loads of color in here, and loads of distractions, it wouldn't help your kind of brain declutter. So that's why it's monochrome. So for goal setting, I used to be rubbish at goal setting. I used to not do it. I was like, no, I don't need that. I know what I want to do. But actually, it really focuses your mind. And a lot of people like me don't know where to start with goal setting. So I have a spread here. Don't know if you can see it, which will tell you, I'll read them out because it's easier. But little boxes that say finish, learn, start, delegate, let go of, begin. And it just gives you that, I call it my goals brainstorming page. It just gives you that opportunity to just make a start. And then once you brainstorm all your goals, I then type it up on a bit of paper, a bit old fashioned, but I put this on my wall and I break the goals down into 5 sections. So that'd be financial, well-being, personal, home and family, and work. And then once you've done it once, you revisit it the next year and you can kind of add to it or take away. And I have this on my wall, so it's visually, subconsciously there all the time.
Amazing. And tell me then about you. So that's the goal setting. What about the time management side of your diary?
Okay, so the time management side, these planners have space for your diary, your notes, your to-do list, planning, if you've got a big project to plan, how you break it down, and creative ideas. So that's why they're quite chunky, because the idea is you keep it all in one place. And if you have lots of notebooks and things on the go, that doesn't help with the overwhelm, and actually you waste time looking for something you've sketched down. So in terms of the time blocking, I do a vertical layout, if you can see that, but it's timed. So it goes all the way down the day and it goes across the page. So you can visually time block out sections of your day. And I love the bit about time tracking because it's so good to go back and time track. And the reason you do that is to see where your time is going and how you can then design your ideal week. So at the beginning of this year, I designed my ideal week so that I could put in, so we all get the same 168 hours in a week.
Yeah.
So you put your sleep in, you put your work in, your kids stuff, you know, your school runs and your non-negotiables, and then you can see how much time you've got left
outside of that. It is fantastic. Tell me, tell me, how do we get hold of these diaries?
Yeah, so we do the diaries, and we also got desk pads. I'll just show you these because you can time block with these. So when I've got a really busy day, so this is your daily pad, and then you've got your weekly pad. So you can plan out, and it's really minimal on purpose. And if I've got a really busy day, what I tend to do is I'll put in time. So I'll say, and this is quite, I suppose this is getting into the mapping, but I'll say, right, between 8 and 9 I have to do this, between 9 and 10 I'll have to do this, and I'll work my day out like that. If I've got a really busy day that I know I've got to get all these things completed, I'll do that, because it then stops the distractions from coming in and go, no, I've got to do this. And of course there's always things that crop up, but a lot of it you tend to just, as Sarah was saying, you know, you'll deal with that email there and then because it's come in. You don't have to. You can put it to one side, jot it down on your pad or your whatever, and say, do you know what, I'll deal with that distraction later.
It's just brilliant. I love that. Tell everyone how we could get hold, how we follow you at Hello Time Planner.
Yes, at Hello Time Planner on Instagram. I'm also on Pinterest, same name, Hello Time Planner, and hellotime.co.uk online.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That was a perfect solution to our entire pharmacy. So lovely to see you, Sam, and I'll get back to you on lots of things later.
Yeah, no worries. Nice to see you, Holly.
Take care. Bye. Bye.